Don't take it so personally. It's time to grow up and individuate. Now, I've got 3 verses, so I'm just going to read through those verses and then we're going to go on to some points here. The first verse is Proverbs chapter 19 and verse 11. From the Amplified Bible, it says, good sense and discretion make a man slow to anger, and it is his honor and glory to overlook a transgression or an offense without seeking revenge or harboring resentment. That's from Proverbs chapter 19 in verse 11. The second verse is Proverbs chapter 17 in verse 9. Proverbs chapter 17 in verse 9. Whoever would foster love covers over an offense, but whoever repeats the matter separates close friends. Right. Colossians chapter 3 and verse 13. Colossians 3:13. Bear with each other and forgive one another. If any of you has a grievance against someone, forgive as the Lord forgave you. I've got a couple of keywords that I want to bring out and then we're going to go into it. The word individuate might be new for some of us or might be a bit unfamiliar, but the word individuate simply means being able to stand on your own 2 feet. Right. And another word I want to bring up, and you will hear it in this session, is the word thin-skinned. Okay, the word thin-skinned means easily offended or too sensitive to criticism or disapproval. What about this term, thick-skinned? Thick-skinned means resilient to criticism or unaffected by negative feedback emotionally or mentally. So what is thin-skinned? When people are thin-skinned, you have to tiptoe around them. It's a sign that their mental and emotional resilience is lacking. They haven't been properly individuated, haven't finished growing up if they take offense too quickly and too easily when it wasn't even intended. So some people are thin-skinned because they see you as a mirror of their values or self-worth. That means if you don't say the right things, they will feel bad or their feelings will be hurt. They won't even allow you to have a bad day. So we just have to understand, okay, that's what you're dealing with. Why are people like that? It's because we, in general, we don't see people as they are. We actually see people as we are. So I'm going to explain that a little bit more. That means before we can see people as they really are, we have to stop seeing them as we are. So what I mean by that is that it is about understanding people for who they truly are. It's actually not as easy as we think, because we all have a tendency to assess or to judge people based on our own internal leans or our internal perceptions. So often we would see people as the way we see ourselves. We don't see people as the way they see themselves. So that's actually a counseling technique. Actually, we have to learn to see people as they are, not as we are. In other words, it's actually hard for us to stop seeing people as we are or with our own internal leans. Okay, so why do people experience many relationship fallouts? It is likely because they took offense when none was intended. Like you and I misunderstood, you and I misjudged, you and I misinterpreted a comment. We even overthought the conversation. So do you know who are the worst interpreters in life? Children. Children are the worst interpreters in life. In fact, children are excellent observers or recorders, but they are poor interpreters. Children would take things or take everything personally. So they would think the world revolves around them. They don't consider other people, they don't reflect, they don't conclude things well, and often they would make unhealthy conclusions about themselves and others until they get parental guidance. Until someone would come to them and say, no, that's not how you see it. This is how you see it, right? Because they're kids. Okay, so a lot of children carry this type of poor interpretation into their adulthood. We call it emotional arrested development, or some people call it a defiled mind. So remember, right? A lot of things can be interpreted in both ways, a good way and a bad way. Sometimes things can be interpreted in multiple ways, but a defiled mind will always interpret them negatively because it fits their internal defiled narratives. And they like taking offense, and sometimes it's a habit to them, and the habit will eventually consume their energy, exhaust all their resources, or strain all their relationships until they find themselves alone or degenerated. And people like that can be in their 20s or 30s. Degenerated means a gradual breakdown or weakening of physical, mental, or social aspects. So that means like that person just gets offended so easily to the point that he or she just doesn't want to see people anymore. And just like everyone is out there to get me, everyone's wrong, everyone stinks, but they just forgot that it's actually themselves stink. We have to understand that. Oh, actually, I might give a couple of stories, actually. I remember one time after a sermon, a lady came to me and she said, were you actually targeting your sermon at me? And I thought, And then in my mind, I thought, first of all, I don't even know you well. But I said, well, first of all, like verbally, like mentally, I said, I didn't even know you well. But verbally, I said, well, first of all, I didn't know that you were coming. And second, I wrote this sermon 4 months ago. And third, I wrote this out of my own personal brokenness and experiences. But then she said, it just felt like you were targeting at me. And I thought, well, what else could I say? And the funny thing was, I actually did the same thing with my counselor, David, like I mentioned before. The first 2 weeks when I went there, and I just thought, man, he really sounded like he knew what he's talking about. He sounded like really arrogant to me. It's just like it was blunt. But then later on, I just realized that maybe I got to hear a lot of nice pastoral sermons without having some strong correction, I guess. So the first time when I met him, I couldn't actually get a lot out of him because I was seeing him as I was, judgmental. I was a bit closed off. But you know what? I did talk to him about that. I said to him direct, I said, well, I think this is a concern. And I felt like when you were talking, I was just judging you the whole time because I really felt like, who do you think you are? You're talking like you know everything. And he said, yeah, I can come across like that. But then he asked me, he said, is there any evidence that I said or I did that you felt like I offended you, like directed at you personally? And I thought about it. I thought, I've got that loading. I've got that loading emoji on top of my head. I thought, personally, from you to me directly? No, actually, no. Basically, at the end, he just said, well, can you not take things so personally? If it's sharp, just don't let your feeling overwhelm you. Think about what I said and to process it through. If you still have a hard time digesting it, bring it to me. Talk to me. He also added, he said, look, if I ever offended you directly or personally, then you don't need to trust me. Wow, that really got me. That means if you don't feel like you can trust me, you can take it back. I don't need to demand you to trust me. I thought, that's respect right there. And I felt respected, actually. So he actually has 20 truth coaches, but I added 5 more. I kind of like changed it a little bit so that we can understand it in an easier way. So I've got all these truth coaches and I'm going to read them all out. Number 1, I don't have to assume that it's all about me or meant for me anyhow. So whatever that happens to me, whatever what other people might have to say, I don't have to assume that it's about me. Number 2, even the big people I admire have flaws too. They are not infallible like Jesus. Sometimes their mirrors crack too. But I don't need to reject them. I don't need to write them off. I just have to learn to navigate their hidden motives or agendas and put their comments into perspective. I don't need to write them off outright, which I used to. But now I would think, no, I'll keep the relationships, but I think I know how to navigate it. Yeah. Number 3, his or her mocking remarks are just expressions of his or her own pain. It's called dumping. Once I understand that it's not about me, it's about them experiencing some pain, then it's okay. In all things, seek wisdom and understanding. Number 4, did I really disappoint as they said? This is something that my dad used to say to me. Did I really disappoint as they said? Or are his or her expectations just too unrealistic? Yes, people say things they don't mean and they forget. I could take offense to that, but where is the joy in it? So in a way, I have to process it myself. If that happens, I do have the right to be offended and I can get offended, but what's the point? So I guess I do have to reason out these things within myself. Yeah, I'll find my way out. Number 5, he or she can have a bad day too. It's okay to just sit tight and wait for the tantrum to pass. Their dumping can only affect me if I eat it up. Jesus in me isn't on the defensive here, so as a believing Christian, why should I be? Oh, this is a juicy one.
Wait, can you repeat the last one? Sorry.
Jesus in me? Jesus in me isn't on the defensive here, so as a believing Christian, why should I be? He's not nervous. He's not just about to beat someone up. You know, he's not getting all like going crazy. So why should I be? Okay, this is a good one. I would not give anyone the right to define me or even to describe me. They first have to earn my trust, regardless of their status, titles, wealth, or age. That taught me a lot to write this. Without this truth coach, I stumbled a lot when I was younger. Okay, I'll read it again because this is just too good. Because it really helps me. It helped me a lot. I would not give anyone the right to define me or to even describe me. They first have to earn my trust, regardless of their status, titles, wealth, or age. Now, in saying that, I respect those aspects, but I will only trust the character behind those aspects. Is it clear enough? We need to be able to separate the two. It's just not because they're older or they're wealthy or they have more titles. Then I have to immediately obey them. It doesn't mean that. I did it many times in my life and I got sucked in big time. Now I learn to look for character. Okay, I declare myself to be enough. I declare myself to be acceptable regardless. After all, Jesus paid heaps to buy me back to himself. One of the deepest roots of rejection or the deepest roots of self-rejection is I'm not enough. Okay, was that really rejection or just correction? Listen to the words, not your feelings about those words. Okay, number 12. I should let them view me however they like. That's not actually my business. So I've got some sub-points. Basically, I would say, I'll just let them. Just let them. I don't need to be that fragile. If the head doesn't fit, I will give it back. I made this up. If it's not my issue, then I'm not the one who needs the tissues.
That was nice.
Stop stewing over it. I'm not the fool in this conversation.
Not the what?
The fool. I'm not the turkey in this conversation. Your feelings, your emotions can actually overwhelm you and we can easily feel we're victimized. Like maybe I'm at fault. And I have to understand that, okay, put my cold head on. Who's the problem here? Number 13, I accept the possibility of being misjudged or rejected. It's okay. It's uncomfortable, but it's not dreadful, and I won't die over that. I know that I'm okay, and that really is enough for me. Everyone can say all sorts, but in your heart and in you just need to know, if I'm okay, I'm okay. Number 15, did I take into account his or her unbearable feeling here? Did I press on a bruise to cause such an over-the-top reaction? So this is something that I have to ask myself. Have I contributed something to it? And I have to review the way I talk as well. Number 16, yes, I could take offense, but going through life offended or sulking is not how I want to live my life. This is like a macro view, like, no, I don't want to live a life full of offenses. I don't want that sort of life. Number 17, did I hear the words or just hear what I expected to hear with my emotional echoes? Number 19, my self-worth isn't in their hands. If it is, it's time to take it back and give it to the Lord. I would not fear them if I give them too much status. To honor them is not to put them on a pedestal. I have to watch out that I don't overstuff my thinking and my emotion with a lot of sharp bits, or I will end up carting around a lot of grumpiness and resentments. I don't want to be known as I always get misunderstood or I always misunderstand things. Next, of course, it's not okay for people to say hurtful things to me, and I don't feel great. But can I let the Lord be my vindicator? Can I just say, okay, I don't feel great for what I just experienced, but can I still trust the Lord to come through for me? It takes some trust, if I do that. Okay, well, this is a funny one. When they look at me wrong, maybe they just have an unfortunate face. It's not about me.
Unfortunate face.
When you preach, when you teach in front of the class, I mean, you get to see so many facial expressions while you're talking. And you just don't know, are they actually reacting to what you say? Or are they just like, they've got other things on? You just don't know. And I have to learn to get used to it. There's another similar one. They squinted their eyebrows at me when I was sharing. Maybe they just have heavy eyebrows. That's all. So, yep. If they are talking smack about me to our mutual friends, I hope those friends have sharp discernment or refrain from drawing conclusions without hearing my side of the story. If not, it's okay to let go of those friends. I trust the Lord to bring me better ones into my life. I lost a few friends over that. You know, someone talk bad about me and they wouldn't even come back to talk to me. It's just as if I lost them without me having the right or the legitimacy to defend myself. And I had to learn to accept the fact that I have to let go of those reins. And I have to trust. I have to trust the Lord that the Lord's going to give me some better friends who would say, oh, wait a minute, I hear what you're saying, but I'm not going to draw any conclusions without talking to Stan first. I want those friends. Well, really, at the end of the day, it's about the whole root of rejection or the whole root of self-rejection. Until we uproot the rejection issue or the self-rejection issue, we will always live our lives like wearing sunglasses indoors, thinking everyone is out to get you, thinking everyone is low-key insulting you. Time to give that self-esteem some tender loving care. Feeling I'm not okay is not fun, and trusting our emotions too much can lead to a roller coaster of misunderstandings or hurt feelings. But remember, echoes are only yesterday's news, not today's reality. That means sometimes when I feel something, it just triggers something that I used to experience. It doesn't mean it's now. The granddaddy of all king lies is quite simply that I am not enough. And it's time for us to give it up once for all while we can. And learn to hear what people actually say rather than what your history is telling you they are saying. We must all strive to live in today's reality. That's all.
That was really good.
Yeah? That was some truth there.
What's your immediate thoughts on that?
Yeah.
There's a level of like maturity that I think really stands out. I think it's, to me, it kind of feels like there's a certain level or like revelation that once you fully grasp it, it's like you're untouchable. How to
Like you are becoming.
You are hero.
You're a hero.
You're a hero.
Yeah. Because it's like you get to a point where it's just like nothing anyone can say to you will like affect you like deeply or and I want to be like that.
Amen, brother.
Yeah, just chew on those truth coaches. Just you will get there very easily.
And that's not to say you never feel it, eh? You do feel it, but it just doesn't get right so deep down into you that drags you down and pushes you down. It just kind of bounces off after a while.
It just feels like this is such a deep issue, and it actually affects our lives so much. But when I think I used to struggle with this a lot, but I didn't realize how badly, until like a while after. I still struggle with some aspects of it.
You didn't hear Stan, one of Stan's truth coaches.
What?
It was about Stan said, they're not looking at me funny. Maybe they just have an unfortunate face.
Yeah.
Such a I just realized how much it was impacting like my life. Now that I'm a little bit healthier, looking back.